guys and gals, ECFers, vapors in general. I get questions often from customers, potential customers, or just people asking when they see my thread about mods in general, things they need, um, things they might use, batteries they'll need, cartomizers, the difference between, smaller, more manufactured items, and then things, that I create. And I wanted to go through a couple. A lot of people want to know about the difference between 18650 or 14500. 14500 is the size of a AA battery, and an 18650 is definitely not. It is much, much bigger, and that is one of the reasons the differences between size. I have a lot of people who end up getting 18650 mods. I take pictures, I tell them measurements, and they get them, and they're like, wow, this is a lot bigger than I expected. So I wanted the very smallest one I make, which is just a normal 18650. I don't have the guts in there yet because this one's in the middle of being made. This compared to this. This is my normal Evercool, and you can see it's taller, slightly thicker. I mean, it's really not that much thicker, but it is taller, and it's the same thickness width-wise. But I mean, still, you're talking about something you can easily hide in your hand. I mean, I have big hands, but also something you can't quite so easily hide in your hand. And that comes because of the real estate that 18650s eat up. They're about twice, 3 times the size of a 14500. They're going to eat up a lot more room, especially since most of the mods, almost every 18650 I make uses 2 of them. I've looked into recently using a single one with a boost converter, but I haven't gotten into that yet, and we can go over that in a different video. One of the things people ask me about often is the batteries. There's different types. I mainly use Trustfire and Ultrafire. I use the flame wrappers. The problem is I got some that are basically the fake ones. They're longer. These two are about the same height. But you see how this one's a little bit taller? And it's because it's fake. You can tell by looking under the wrapper and telling what that one has blue under it, and it's not supposed to. Of course, all of my mods, except for the 3.7 volt, use 2 batteries. With the Evercools, I'm fairly heavy vapor, and I get well over a day out of it. I've gotten up to 2 days, but normally I charge them overnight. And really, if you need something that goes for more than 1 day, or goes for 2 days solid, you might have to bring an extra pair of batteries if you're a super heavy vapor. There's a lot of different cartomizers out there. There's your normal cartomizers, which are everything you normally get. You just you fill just like a normal cartridge, and then you have your larger ones. I mean, it's bigger in comparison. All it does is hold more. Sometimes they have dual coils, like this one's a dual coil. I don't really notice a huge difference between them as far as use. As far as like the vapor and stuff with the Evercools, it's about the same. That one is empty and tastes awful. And then you get into the atomizers. I use just normal 510 atomizers, standard, standard resistance. Some people use lower, but with the Evercools going up to 6 volts, I try to stick with the standard just to make sure I keep the amperage lower. Some of the low resistance will cause higher amperage, and if you crank it up to 6 volts on like a 1.7 ohm cardo, you might go past 3 amps and you could kick it off. All you're going to have to do if you ever do that is you turn it off, turn it back on, it works again, or take the battery out and put it back in. On some of the mods that don't have an on-off switch, all of my 14500s do. We'll get into the actual mods that I make. Most people that come from the normal things, like, they get an Ego, or, the smaller ones, the actual cigarette style, not the pen style, really small batteries, really small life, last a few hours. You have to carry multiple batteries with you. They need to be charged constantly. Um, the thing that I have that's most comparable to that is my normal little 3.7 volt. This is an Ego tank, and you can see the difference. I mean, this is the same thickness, but it's, I'd say, about two of it width-wise. It's shorter, of course, especially when you put, just a normal little atomizer on there. It's going to be about, half-inch shorter. Smaller, easier to fit in your hand, Most of the cigarette style and pen style are usually limited voltage. It's regulated at 3.3 volts. So it tastes the same from the beginning to the end. My 3.7 volts are not. It just uses the normal battery life of the battery. So a fresh battery is going to hit slightly harder than a not so fresh battery. And you'll have drop off towards the end as the battery dies and you have to change it out. But we'll get into the tanks later, but that just happens to be what I have filled right now. Sorry. The 3.7 volts I make, some people talk about how it's actually a stronger hit than the average normal volts, or things of that nature, and that's simply because the batteries that you use, the 14500s, have a higher mAh rating, so they're able to supply a higher amperage. Having a higher amperage makes the Addy or Cardo hit at its full potential, and therefore you get a stronger hit. I have several people who just like the little 3.7 volts. They don't have a problem. They don't need anything else. Works fantastic for them. That's great. Most of the people I work with get an Evercool, okay? And it's a variable voltage device. It's minus just a little, basically an extra battery slot. It's about the same size, same width, same height. It uses two batteries, of course, and you can dial in the voltage depending on what you like. Now with that, you get elongated battery life, lasts longer. You can set the voltage to what you want, which gives you much better vapor. It's warmer, has a bigger throat hit, and it can change the flavor depending on how high or how low you have it set. As you see, that's a much shorter hit, and it still gives you a good set of vapor. I like a little bit higher voltage. I'm more of a 4.8 volt person. Depending on the juice, some goes up to like 5.2. I have a normal 5 volt that I create. I don't have one sitting in front of me. Sorry about that. And then I have my quickly becoming infamous little man, which is the exact same thing as the Evercool, only it has a display in it. I'll show you the difference of the interiors of them. This one, you simply have the connector, the button, and then the Evercool system. With this one, it gets a little wilder than that. You have the connector, the button, a display, and then the Evercool unit runs along the bottom with the capacitors and the adjuster in there. It's a little bit more difficult to fit it all in there, but it does fit well and it works well. Not exactly what I would say is the best for a newer user, other than the fact that you can now see your voltage easier. It works, but it's not exactly necessary. Let's see, it's too high. And as you can tell when you hold the button, 4.4 volts. And a little higher than that. It's the same. It has the exact same actual tech in it as the Evercool unit does. It just has a display as well. And then, of course, we move on to something a little bit thicker, and that is a bottom feeder unit. I do not have a bottom feeder with display in front of me. Again, I apologize. I don't keep too many of these around. That's what it looks like on the interior. It has a 3 milliliter bottle. The connector's right here. Goes into the bottle. The Evercool unit, and then the button and the battery sit on the outside. And with this, I just use a normal Addy. I've heard of people using Cardos and they have to use them in different ways. Some are a tight draw, some don't work at all, and that really depends on the Cardo itself, from what I understand. But you know, you have your through hole here. I have an LED that lights the bottle, and when you squeeze it, the juice comes up. Let's see if I can get it zoomed in here for you. A lot of people ask on how well the beauty rings work, and we'll give you a little. Let's see if I can get it any tighter than that. Oh, there we go. It'll start to fill, and then you just let off of it, and it'll stay right in there. A little gurgle, but it's too good. Same general taste, same general everything about it. It all uses the same Evercool unit. The prices, we'll get into the prices a little bit. My smallest unit, the little 3.7 volt, is $20. Then you step up into an Evercool unit, which is $55. The bottom feeders in the 14500 are $85 or $80. I think $80. And then you have the actual little man, which is also $80. Basically, what I try my best to do is keep all of my mods to not only a reasonable price for people who aren't sure what they want and they want to try variable voltage, only they don't want to try a really low quality mod. They want something that they can use, or they want a backup. Backups are fantastic for a lot of people. You know, people have Ferraris, but they only have one set of batteries for it. While they're charging it, they use a backup. Or, you know, they take the backup with them to places where they might drop it, because, you know, you could destroy a $50 mod and not care, versus a, you know, $200 some odd Ferrari, and then you would definitely care. Most of my mods I keep low enough that, you know, the quality, it's built to last, it's built to stay and work and be a good mod, but still cheap enough that people who don't quite have the amount of money necessary to get into it can. People who just want to try it and might not like it might go right back to their old mods, or like, you know, that normally would have cost me a carton of smokes anyway. You get into the differences between cartomizers or atomizers. Cartomizers themselves, as far as the resistance of them. Lower resistance is going to give a hotter vapor, but at certain voltages it's going to start to burn the juice. It's going to start to taste bad. I normally use standard with pretty much all of my Evercool units. Some people love lower, you know, they'd rather use a lower resistance with a lower voltage, so that way if they want to switch over to a 3.7 volt or what have you, they have that option. It is really based on how you feel about it. I don't have any of the bigger units because almost all of my 18650s are custom made for specific, you know, specific things that people ask for. They like different colors, they like things different about the mod. I don't try to get people not to purchase them because everyone has different things, but I personally am a utilitarian. I want something that I can carry with me all the time. It's going to fit in my pocket. It's going to fit in my shirt pocket. It's awesome. It's going to go where I'm happy that people enjoy the mods. That's kind of the whole point of this gig, is I'm not going to make it if people don't want it. What's the point of making it if nobody wants to buy it? Almost all of it, in the end, comes to preference. I mean, is size worth it to you versus battery life? Because, I mean, there's some people, one of the ones I'm working on is this. I'm literally making a mod out of something that small, and I mean, people don't care. They want it as small as humanly possible, but then you have people who like the bigger mods. They don't care how big it is. They have a big purse, or they have a big pack, or they keep it in their truck, And it really does come down to preference. The same with juice, the same with batteries, the same with cardos, and the same with addies. Your mileage will vary with all of them. Some people love certain things that other people hate. Some people love certain mods that other people hate. Some people have to have a variable voltage. Some people don't even like them. It's completely preference, and for the newer people that really want to get into mods because they're cheaper or they're nicer or they're more customized, self-expression, that's fantastic. Go for it. But don't be disturbed when it's not perfect, when it's not exactly what you thought it was going to be, because all of it's a learning curve. I don't know too many modders who've been in it for years and years and years. Those who do have very specific things they make, and they make quality stuff. I mean, I'm not downing on anybody who does this. They all do a great job. Especially the woodworkers. I mean, I've had a few people request I try the wood stuff. I do love working with wood, but I look at the quality of the guys that do this stuff. They have all the equipment, they have the skills, and they have the knowledge, and I don't even wish to try to compete. I don't even want to give it a shot, because they make amazing mods. They're well priced for what they are. The amount of work and time and effort put into them is beyond me. I'm willing to do a lot, but there's some toes I'm not willing to step on just because I look up to them. I see their mods, and that kind of stuff inspires me to make better work of my own, but not copy. If you have any questions, you can look me up on ECF, James W. You can go by my thread. I'll put a link in the description. I really wish I had better things to say than your mileage may vary, but your mileage may vary.